Hello everybody, it's Stephen and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to me after 3 weeks being away. Now, where have I been for these last 3 weeks, you might ask? Have I been off adventuring around the world, exploring new places and enjoying life to the fullest? No. I rarely wish I could say that. But 3 weeks ago I had my second COVID jab. I got some mild side effects, but then on top of that I ended up getting a sickness bug that's been going around my local area and it laid me out for 2 weeks. I felt awful. Now, I did try to record a couple of videos within those times, but when I watched them, they weren't particularly good. I looked pale, I looked sick. My words weren't coming over how I wanted because I kept on getting muddled up with my words and I just wasn't happy with the content. So I decided to put down the recording and just rest up and relax. Now, for those of you who follow me on Twitter and Instagram, I did post a few things to my stories just letting people know that I was actually off ill and the reason why I wasn't posting, although I could have probably posted more information. So for those of you who follow me on those accounts, I will try to update them more. For those of you who don't follow me on accounts, please remember to go to the links below and follow me for more updates and hopefully more content. Now that equates to the first 2 weeks. So what about the third week, you might ask? Well, if I'm honest, I wasn't in the correct headspace. I was actually having a really bad anxiety attack when it came to coming up and doing the recording. I am somebody who likes to constantly be doing something over and over and over again, and then when I stop doing something for 2 or more weeks, I sort of lose the confidence and the motivation to carry on doing it. It's taken me a lot to get in front of the camera today, if I'm being honest. I actually was meant to be doing this yesterday. I completely put it all off by engrossing myself in books and in anime. And today I'm actually an hour or 2 later filming when I wanted to, and I started doing decorating around the house, even though I'm not in a stage to actually do the decorating completely how I wanted at the moment. I just kept on putting it off. I suffer from anxiety. For those of you who've been watching my channel often, it's not something I hide. I've suffered with depression and anxiety ever since I was a child, and it's something that's played a major part in my life up until now, and I'm sure it will do going forward. Now, I try to overcome this by doing various different kind of relaxation methods and reading also. Reading is my main way of relaxing my mind and getting into the headspace that I want to be. So that is the reason why I haven't been here for the last 3 weeks. After that update, let's discuss the rest of this video and the content I'm going to be bringing to you. So the first bit is my book fitness section, which I usually do, where I talk about my health, my mental health and how I've been. Now, I've covered some of that and I'll go into a little bit more once I go into that section, and then after that I'll be doing a wrap up on my last 3 weeks worth of reading and how it's actually gone on. So have I done well while I've been off ill? Now that you'll have to tune in towards the end to find out. For the book fit section, so my health and my mental well-being. As I said, I was ill for 2 weeks and then I had a bad mental health illness. Now that equated a little bit to my food as well. So for the first 2 weeks I hardly ate anything at all, and as you can imagine, I dropped the weight. I lost a lot. And it isn't a good way to lose the weight, if I'm being honest. I've done it before and it's never stayed off. Now, when the third week came in, when I was suffering from anxiety, I went back to all my bad habits on top. So from going from absolutely not eating at all to then eating nothing but junk food, it just had that knock-on effect to affecting how I was feeling inside, so it was having a negative effect on my mental health, it was having a negative effect on my actual health, and I put on all the weight that I lost in those 2 weeks within the span of a week. Now, I ended up having something like 2 takeaway pizzas, a Chinese. I ended up going to lots of ready meals, or meal deals I should say, from the garage, so sandwiches, crisps, pop with sides like Scotch eggs or sausage rolls or something like that. So really unhealthy stuff if you eat it in a vast quantity, and that's all I was really doing. So my health hasn't been fantastic for my eating, but I am trying to get back on top of things. So this coming week, I'm looking to actually get back on track, get back to weighing myself regularly, getting back to making my salads and meals in advance, so getting some prep work done and getting back on the healthy eating. So hopefully next week when I get on the scales, I'll see a loss and I'll be back on my correct journey. Now, this has also had a knock-on impact towards my exercise. So as you know, when I was finishing work, I was riding my exercise bike and then I was doing push-ups. Now, for the first 2 weeks, I didn't do anything. I just wasn't in the right state. Actually, that's a lie. I did try to do a couple of push-ups when I was feeling a bit better, but I pushed myself a bit too early, so it might have contributed to why maybe it hung around more than it should have done, because I pushed myself when I shouldn't have done. And for the 3rd week, I did a few push-ups, but I couldn't do many. I was still feeling weak, I was still feeling down inside of myself, and it had a knock-on impact to my exercise. So it has been atrocious. Now, bearing that in mind, I am looking to get back into my exercise in this coming week, and I'm hoping that it's going to pick up alongside my healthy eating, and I'm going to get back on that track that I've been enjoying so much. Now, that is really it for my health and my mental well-being. So as you can see, it's not been the best 3 weeks, and it's why I haven't actually done any content, because as I said, I was getting anxiety attacks coming in front of the camera because I was just in the wrong frame of mind. And for the first 2 weeks when I did try to do it, because I was feeling so ill, I hated my content. And that is probably why the anxiety kicked in, because I looked at that content and thought, this is awful. This just isn't where it needs to be, and my head was just saying, why are you doing this? Why are you in front of the camera if this is the kind of content that you are producing? And you know, I'm putting a line under that now. I am getting back in front of the camera, and I am going to start getting back to my usual self, and I'm going to start smiling and enjoying life and enjoying the content that I produce for everybody. So thank you very much for all those tuning in today, and thank you for all those that have actually stayed subscribed to my channel while I've had the hiatus of 3 weeks. Now, on to my actual wrap up for the last 3 weeks. So as you know, I tend to read 2 to 3 books a week. How did that translate during these last 3 weeks? Was I able to keep that up? Actually, the answer is no. When I'm ill, I do one of 2 things. I'm either in bed constantly and I'm reading to relax because my head is able to still process kind of the information, and I'm feeling all right enough to actually read and relax kind of like that, because reading is my main source of relaxing. Those 2 weeks were probably really bad. If I have to it's hard to explain. I was feeling really heavy inside myself. I was feeling headachy, aching, sickness constantly in my stomach, really bad. It just wasn't pleasant, and it's not something we probably want to go into too much on YouTube because they'll probably take it down. So let's just say I wasn't in the right frame of mind, but I did try to read. Now, for those 2 weeks, I read books 1, 2, and half of book 3 of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Now, it's a light novel, and it is one I enjoyed reading. If I was to give it a rating, I'd probably give it 4.5 out of 5 stars, maybe 4 in some places. The story itself is really good. It's about a guy who is at the top of his particular video game, and he role plays a demon lord. Now, I'll say demon lord because he's not actually one in the game. He's actually a human, but he role plays as a demon lord, and he has artifacts that make him appear to be a demon lord. So what happens is somebody from another world, or two people from another world, go to summon a demon lord from another world. I've said world a lot there. But that is the case. So the two people from this other world decide to try and summon a demon lord and take control of him for their gain and for their use, because they are suffering some terrible plights of their own. And they happen to summon him. Now, he is a socially awkward gamer who has no real life in the real world. All his confidence comes from his demon lord persona online, and he puts all of his time into that. He had no friends. He stayed away from his family. He stayed locked up in his room, and that was his life. His online avatar playing as that demon lord, and that's where he was recognized as being a strong and confident person. Now, anyway, he's summoned to this new world, and the summoning actually backfires. While these two summoners try to summon him as a slave, the slave magic actually backfires, and the two summoners actually end up getting the slave collars on them and end up being sort of slaves to him. Now, he doesn't treat them like slaves. He actually treats them as friends, and you start to see the relationship blossom through all three books. And it is really, really good. He helps them on their plights and what they're going through, and you see him being very unconfident, having no confidence in himself as he's actually going through this world. He doesn't know how to deal with people. He doesn't know how to deal with women, with men, with groups, with nothing. The only way he knows how to actually deal with these is actually through his demon lord persona. So he comes off as very abrupt, very nasty in some kind of places, because it's the only way he knows how to be confident, by putting on that fake persona. Now, the two characters who summoned him, they actually see through it to some degree. They actually know they actually see him as a demon lord, they see him as being all powerful, but they see the kindness that is actually behind there, and they don't take his demon lord persona too harshly. They understand that he's doing it out of a certain kindness, and that there's rarely a soft spot underneath. Now, we follow them on the adventures, helping out both of those two characters, as well as coming across various things. Now, as I said, it is a really good read. Now, I picked up this one because there's also an anime adaptation, and there's also a manga adaptation. Now, I've watched the anime, and I picked this up because a lot of animes miss out a lot of key information within the light novels. When you're adapting a light novel or a manga to an anime kind of form, you of course don't put in all of these small little side quests or subplots, or even some of the main storyline. It's cut out to make it so it fits into either a 12 or a 24 episode series. Now, when I was reading this, I was actually surprised very little was left out of the anime. The light novel and the anime are almost identical, bar a few small bits, and they're not even really key bits. It is almost identical in a lot of ways. Now, this actually made the book a bit more repetitive for me, because it wasn't that long since I actually watched the anime. So it felt like I was reading something I'd watched only 5 minutes ago. So if you are an anime person thinking about getting this one because you like it and you want to know what the light novel is like, I can tell you they are more or less identical. Now, I've got through the first 3 books, which equates to, if I'm correct in my thinking, the first season of the anime. It doesn't go into the second season, which recently aired. Now, I am planning on getting the next few books, which will then equate to the second season. So we'll see if they are different, if they add any more information in, or if it's consistent, like the anime is very close to the actual light novels. Now, for this, if you are wanting just to find out new information by reading the light novels, it's not something I would recommend. You could probably pick up the books where the anime lays off. So if you've just watched season 1, you could pick up from book 4. If you've watched season 2, I'm not quite sure where that goes into the light novels yet, but the common denominator with most light novels is you get 3 light novels per season. So it probably picks up either book 6 or book 7. You'd need to have a look into that one, but my guess would be book 7, just with how it tends to go with these kind of things. So that's it for the first 2 weeks. I read 2.5 books, and as you can see, for me, that is really slow. Now, last week when I was in my bad headspace, I decided to sit down and just have a mental health day at one point. It was on the weekend to try and get my head reset for the upcoming week, and it worked to some degree. And on that day, I just sat down and I read. I literally read for the entire day apart from meals. Now, that meant I was able to concentrate on nothing but reading, and I actually finished the 3rd book of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, so the last half of it, and then I finished another book on top. So this comes to what I was reading for the last week, and I actually got through 3.5 books. For this, I read the Kuma 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 Bear light novel. Now, this I would highly recommend. It is a fantastic read, and this is easily a 4.5 out of 5 for my rating. It's very, very unlikely that I give things a perfect 5 because everything has room to improve. I think there's always that little bit, so I don't like to give perfect marks because, to be fair, there's always something I find slightly down the line that I prefer more, or there's something that I'd slightly like better, so it's very hard. So I'd say about 4.5, maybe even 4.8 out of 5. This was a really enjoyable series. I'm looking at doing a full review on this series, so I'm just going to do a quick overview of it. So the first thing is the title, Kuma 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 Bear. Now, what is Kuma, you might ask? It's actually Japanese for bear, so the title is Bear, 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 and it lives to that name. Again, this is about a person being summoned to another world, and it's somebody who's summoned to another world as from being the top of their game as well. They were summoned by God to this new world, and they go on a slice of life adventure. Now, again, this light novel also has a manga and anime adaptation, and I've watched the anime. It's only got 1 season, and like most light novels, unlike the previous one, this has a lot of information missing out of it, so it made it a fresh new read. In fact, once I'd finished all 3 books, I went back to the anime to see what it had missed out, and it felt like night and day. The anime itself is really good, but the information or the missing bits out of it doesn't do the books justice once you've read them. Now, the anime is a lot more fun, it's a lot more friendly, it's a lot more upbeat. The light novels, while they're still a slice of life and they're very fun, they have a bit more of an adult kind of content to it. Not too much, just enough like when they're harvesting materials for monsters, they'll mention the mana gems being covered in blood. They'll talk about more like adult kind of content like that. So they'll mention blood more, they'll mention death more, things like you wouldn't get in a anime that's aimed more at the younger kind of teen market like this one was. So it is a really good read. It adds a bit more realism to the anime that the anime couldn't quite put over because of its targeted audience. Now, the books themselves, I said I got through the first 3 and I loved them to bits. I can highly recommend this one, and I'm already in the process of ordering another few more to the actual series. So if I remember rightly, the other day I've ordered 4, 5, 6 and 7, and I can't wait for them to arrive, and I can't wait to start reading them. Unfortunately, not going to be arriving for at least another week due to some delivery problems, but I have got books to read in between then, so I cannot wait. Anyway, that's really it from my reading section. As I said, my first 2 weeks was awful, and then my last week I got through 3.5 books, which is a phenomenal amount for me. As I said, I tend to get through 2.5 normally, 3 to push, so getting another half a book on top is actually, it's not even another half a book, it's another, think about it, I got through last half of How Not Summon Demon Lord. I've got through the first 3 books of Kuma 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 Bear, and I'm actually halfway through another book, and that is Kicked Out of the Hero's Party. I won't go into too much on that one. I'll give it a full kind of review and what I think about it in my next wrap-up video. But I've read the first 2 books. This is the 3rd light novel, and I am enjoying this one as well. Anyway, that's enough rambling. I went a bit off track towards then, as I remembered. So I've read the equivalent of 4 books in the last week, which, as I said, is a phenomenal amount, and it's mainly down to me having that mental health day where I just concentrate on nothing but reading and resetting my mind to go on a more positive kind of way of thinking. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for sticking with me through these past 3 weeks worth of absence, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody.